writing everywhere, Anglophone, Francophone, Lusophone, and so on and so on. And that's what we forum is actually. And I'm very proud to be here because of Adipal. It is here that I discovered that I have to respond. Coming from Francophone, we don't know what is a keynote, to respond to a keynote, to be a discussant, we don't know it. So when I came from another conference, also that I have to respond to the incoming secretary. I said, oh, what that means? And this morning, I discovered that I have to give a talk. Thanks to Adipala again. 3 weeks ago, he asked me to give a talk on why we have to invest in soil fertility to have a sustainable agriculture. When I received his invitation, then I'm an ecologist minister. I went to work on all the outputs I can find and give this talk. Thank you. So today, when I was asked to respond, I said, "Oh, hopefully, Adipala asked me to give a speech, and I accept." So it is a part of this speech that I have to share with you. Dear Professor Isaka, you have the honor. You have been raised by our Minister of Zimbabwe. I'm very proud to be part of you. Dear decision makers, you ministers, our governors, we are also proud of you, and we need this kind of stuff to really have some inspiration to continue working. Let me start with my conclusion. Yes, I decided to put as the first slide my conclusion because starting talking about science output and so on, it can be hard. But if we can know where we are going, then it will be much easier. That's why the first slide. My first slide is really, yeah, to come to the end, but the end will be the beginning. It is clear that Africa will be the only continent that will continue to struggle. Because our economy relies on agriculture. It relies on natural resources, which is my field of expertise. Other things is that we have to notice that much of the projects, they miss the link between science, between training, and in fact on going on the ground. And this missing the link make it hard to how really we can make expansion. We can move from our lab to the field. So please, you decision makers, as far as you can have a big money for a project, developing project, link it with universities. And then we can contribute to it, because it is hard for university to get money the way. Definitely, capacity building, as the Forum is doing, is the way for all. But why I say that, let me start with my conclusion before going in science. Slide please. Okay, thank you. The minister has said it is hard to depend on outside knowledge. We have to develop our homegrown knowledge, to find solutions to that. It's very important for us, of course, I come from academic, to give budgets to train people, to support the Forum efforts, because all of the university now believe in a Forum network. I deal with many networks with my sister Teresa here. We are members for many African university networks. But really, there is no comparison. Forum is a Forum. Forum is the future of Africa. And if we get these projects, develop our capacity, believe me, all these extreme events due to climate change, we can really empower ourselves to deal with that. Next slide, please. Okay, I said that I don't want to go deeply in science, but just to make you see what our supporting service the natural givers soil can give to us. And if you want to bypass this, what the nature give, and to go to high tech, that's what you have to expect. You have to put many bigger determinants. So let's believe in how we can improve what the nature gives to us, and then we can help much more people. And next slide, please. Mr. Ministers, dear participants, it is clear that our soil fertility can play a key role for us. That's why we have to preserve it. You can see clearly that when the soil are eroding, it causes several problems, even political, social, political. That's why I will stress on soil fertility, because when it depletes, when it decreases, then we lose many of other natural resources, physically, biodiversity, and every much more ecosystem services. Next slide, please. We are in Africa. We are talking about sub-Saharan Africa in the tropics. Ecology tells us that clearly we can't have the same soil, the same condition like in the temperate area. We have high temperature, we have a high rainfall, and all this can create rainfall. All these are the basis of the loss of our soil. So we have to take this in mind. Next slide, and I will come to this. This was estimated by FAO that the used soil in Africa we lost around 23%. And that impacts our food production system. So degradation is a key issue, and that's why I will pledge how it is very important to invest in soil fertility management. Next slide, please. And talking about the soil loss, it comes to climate change at the greenhouse gas emission, because the soil helps to protect all this. And if we degrade our soil, we also will increase our emission of carbon. Next slide. Other things is that if it happens, then we'll lose some job for young people. It is a matter of employability. So that's why it is very important to develop also the rural part. If not, rural exodus to the cities will increase trouble, social trouble. And the principal cause is the soil degradation that we are experimenting in a rural area. Next slide. All what I'm saying is a research output. I took all this message from research output, and here I want to show that if we don't prevent the soil from erosion, then we create many pollution problems. We pollute our river, we pollute our lake, we pollute our groundwater. That's why it is very important when we talk about soil management, integrated soil management, that will help also to overcome this kind of a problem we are experimenting. Next slide, please. Of course, when we want to deal with this, we have to use science. Everybody stresses the role of science, agronomy. I come from the faculty of agronomy, and agronomy is the science to nourish people. It is the science that nourish really people. That's why when you deal with this kind of science, you have to have a very broad view. When even if you are highly specialized in crop breeding, you go in the field with a peasant. Peasant expose you many other problems, which not is your specialty. Yeah, he has problem of pest management, he has problem of soil degradation, has a problem of this, and you have to listen to him and to find a solution. That's why it is very important to have a very holistic approach when we are talking about this investment. Please next slide. Other things, I'm going fastly to save some that we believe in fertilizer. This war, Ukraine or Russia, for example, raised the problem, and Africans should say, how can we have our own, it can be a continental-based industry of fertilizer? Because many systems now impacted because of the lack of fertilizer on the ground. So it is very important to take this issue and also to work on, as we are doing so well, in improving the different labs here in this country, and I'm very satisfied to participate to this. Next slide. Okay, let me say that, yeah, thank you. Let me say that all this investment, as I'm saying, it is because we still continue relying on soil productivity. That's why I stress this importance of investing more and more in soil. Next slide. I have to finish with it. But what kind of investment is needed? Next. We need a kind of a green revolution for Africa. Asia don't know it, South America done it, but we need it also for Africa. Meaning that we have to take all these aspects of agricultural improvement, seed improvement, pest management, drought tolerance, irrigation, and so on and so on. That's the kind of a message this investment in soil fertility is calling for. Next slide, please. Mr. Minister, be sure that if we have to rely only on the traditional manner, and I'm very proud, all of the slides you show, it is technology. You use technology to develop it here in Zimbabwe, not to rely on oil, not to rely on this other technology, because with traditional practice, we cannot meet the future generation expectation. And next slide. Next slide. Government should assist in that, and that's why your presence to this kind of meeting is very important. Not because you don't know it, but you can also hear our message. What we can't say to you because you are in the office, we can't come to office to say it. So this kind of meeting help us now to appeal to you that it is very important that we have to sustain, to give a really budget to research, to capacity building, to solve the different problems. That will help really to have our farmer to produce in a sustainable way. And I pick a very nice lesson here. You can have the same people, but it is the system who have to boost them. Thank you very much for that. Because many people, many leaders, they think that knowledge is in the Western. So Africans have no knowledge. It is a problem of system. What is the system that can boost us to give the best we can do? Thank you so much, Mr. Minister. Next slide. Definitively, it is very, very important that, Minister, if we have this kind of agriculture, you can earn much more taxes and also develop other, let's say, sectors of agri. But if the agri fall down, also you lose this taxes. So we have really to be partner. And we have also to boost our farmers that could be this incentive. Next time, perhaps of the last. Mr. Minister, I'm sure that if you don't put on the ground a clear, effective relevant policy, nothing will work. Money can't overcome limitation, and the limitation to overcome it is this policy. You have to put on the ground the best policy. That's the next slide. And thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Professor Sin Sin. That was a very concise response, and it's greatly appreciated. Before we get to the next session, which is session 2, questions or comments of them, safe discussion. We'll take 2-3 questions. Multimedia, if you could have roving mics in the floor, and my technical team, if you could prepare 4 chairs for our next session. Do we have any questions? Right from the beginning of our proceedings in the morning, I see one hand up here. There's another one right at the back, and then the third one. Okay, I saw 2, 3. We'll start with the 3, and then we will assess how we are doing in terms of time, and then we move on. Let's try and be very brief. Succinct. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Director. I'm not bothered about the protocol, but I consider the protocol in place. My name is Abraham Makindal. I'm a professor of economics and the Vice Chancellor of the Memorial University of Science and Technology, South Sudan. Mine is a comment, and particularly about the presentation of Professor the Minister. It was actually question. I quite agree with most of the points, and particularly doing things practically, using higher education to be creative, to be protective, and to do things by themselves. I'm so impressed with the structures that are actually shown, and those structures that the university did construct them using their own resources. There's the application of education, and that in fact goes in line with the concept of higher education, that universities are institutions of problem solving. And if you adopt to set practical application of education, we will not really bother our partners to do it. It actually reminds me of my situation. We were actually supplied by our partners, but we thought to do something. Now, Professor Adibala, I really appreciated his visit to that university. We now have lecture halls with standards and the offices and some conference halls. This is very encouraging, and I think all the universities, we need to move to that direction. What is so important is we must be protected, not only researching, you have to research, analyze, create jobs and goods and services. And I think in that way, we'll be self-sufficient, and that will make us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. I think that was just, beautiful feedback as he responded to the Honorable Minister's speech. Next question, comments.
Observe. My name is Rashid Siraj, and I come from Mohammed VI Polytechnic University. I can't tell you how happy and how proud I am to be here. Hearing all the inspirational talks, especially by the Honorable Minister. Most of this, I think, we know, it's internal. But what we've been struggling with, what Africa is struggling with, is the time to move to action. I like very much these freedom talks. I hope all of you are watching the soccer. I'm talking about agronomy. I can't tell how proud we are as a whole people, as Africans, to see that it is possible. And sometimes it only takes us to believe in ourselves. And I think the message for me, it was really clear. Science does not help, does help us to put food on the table, is of no use. And education that does not allow us to free ourselves, like the pathways of no use. So I'm really happy to be part of this community. And I hope, our days are coming for Africa. So go Morocco and go Forum and go Africa.
Thank you so much. On that note, by the powers vested in me as the Director of Ceremonies, I declare that everyone in this house supports Morocco in the World Cup. Right, next question. I saw there was a hand somewhere up there. I think if we could just move across so that we also give people at the back the opportunity.
Good afternoon, everyone. All protocol observed. I'm Patience Mishengezi. I'm here as a delegate because I'm a spouse. I work with Makerere University, but I'm a delegate from Uganda Christian University, where my husband is the Vice Chancellor. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. I would like to know how Zimbabwe has dealt with the issue of GMOs, which is engineered by our scientists, which is really dangerous. Thank you.
There was a hand right at the back. Let's give others at the back the opportunity. I'll take that one and then the last one in the interest of our time. Please forgive me. I know the Honorable Minister has another very important engagement. So we want to give him the opportunity to take his leave at some point. I'll take, that's the second last. Go ahead, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. I'm an archaeologist by training and profession, teaching at the University of Southern. What I'd like to say that what the Honorable Minister said, and others, this is what we are really trying to convince our governments about it, that it is no use of having scientific research without being applied. It's not a group of papers or whatever that has, the minister said. Now, what we need for Africa, this is what I believe in. Even in my country, Sudan was the largest one time, and now it is the third in the world, in Africa. So for the people in Sudan, I kept telling the Vice Chancellor that you need to unite. Research resources should be mushroomed and be used by all. We need to have research centers that is central for each one of the districts. Now for Africa, we need this unity. We need actually to combine our work together for the African countries in the beginning, before having partnership or integrating any relations with others outside. I'm a member of the United Nations General Assembly Science Summit, and I have been attending the Africa-Europe Summit, and now today, of course, starting Africa and United States. That means there is a change in the concept about Africa and about Africans. So we have to make use of this, and we have to unite internally before doing anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me have the last one, and then I'll kindly request the Honorable Minister to respond on what Zimbabwe is doing with regards GMO.
So thank you very much. My name is Jacob Mazarare. I'm from the University of Malawi. Thank you to all the presenters and the Honorable Minister for the brilliant, exciting, and inspiring presentation. When the minister was presenting, it was so impressive, and so I really wanted to know how are these projects being financed? It is so exciting. Is it that they are tapping from the university coffers, or because he's a minister, he can influence the budget at the national level? And so what is the plan like? Because he emphasized why the universities should even become, he mentioned that the Vice Chancellor is a very rich man. But how do we, the universities sustain these resources? I think that is very exciting, and I really look forward to learning. And how do we cascade, or how can the rest of African countries learn from what the beautiful thing that is happening in Zimbabwe? Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this juncture, allow me to kindly request the Honorable Minister to respond. I think most of the feedback, it was really just commendation and expression of appreciation. But there was one on what Zimbabwe is doing around the issue of GMOs, and the last one on how our projects are funded. Honorable Minister, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, colleagues, for the comments, which are basically, some of them are just support for what I call the movement. And thank you. Yes, I was watching the Morocco game. I was really very happy. To the extent that some people begin to want to own Morocco, but Morocco is African. Okay. So where is the money coming from? We are not a very rich country, Zimbabwe. We could be richer in future, but we are not rich. Well, we are moderate. We are in middle income economy, lower middle income economy. We suffered what we suffered, but we are beginning to have a certain renaissance, and it starts from here. When you know you are cornered, and there's only one way, if somebody is standing on that way, you take out the person and you move away. What basically that means is that you only have to exploit the option that you have, and that's the head. And we are very privileged that we are having a chancellor, His Excellency the President, who completely understands what we are trying to do. and he's leading that. The whole thing about the world is that, the world doesn't like poor people. Poverty is very bad. And sometimes people try to sell it by trying to convince the world that I'm the poorest, please give me money. There's nothing like that. The world doesn't work like that. The world works on markets. And if you have to be a market, you have to spend some money in order for you to be able to be a market. Now, this is just a background. But the answer is, when we are doing things that are useful for the people, there will always be money for it. But then you need the spirit to do the things, the team to do the things. You know what? The money that also, which we are spending, is Zimbabwean money from government. Surely there are certain projects that, of course, are donor sponsored or something, but there are very few now. We are the major sponsor of everything. Because we are convinced this is the way to go. But we have to configure our system so that they respond to that. Just like I was telling you about that we put our small satellite in space called SimSat-1. People started saying, who did it? Wait, how? It's our money. And it's our people who did it. And our partners were supporting technically, but we paid for it. It's very important to know. And when your partners, you are paying for something, they are happy to work with you. Not when you say, give me some shoes, give me some socks, give me some oil, give me some water, it doesn't work. So we have learned to put our money where it matters for us. We don't have enough though. We can still do with more partnerships on a business kind of arrangement. It's very important. No matter how much you dress poverty, it doesn't sell. Because nobody wants it. So we just did a mental shift, because normally before they would be naked children with the stomachs outside, so I'm the poorest, you see people, my people are suffering, please give me money. Africa, stop that. It's not necessary. That's the whole spirit that we adopted. Trying to be the poorest, where we come from, people are living in trees, lying after. People are lying. People are living in trees, and they are doing this, we are the poorest. Then you are taking photographs, talking about your poverty. No one is interested in that. It's a thing to know first before you do a mental shift. To say that people who are respected are contributors. In the 60s, people were laughing at Chinese. They were saying they're hungry, they are this, they are that, they are that. Now everybody is going to China, whether you like it or not. You go to China, it's powerful. They put money in science, they put money in innovation, they put money in their own self-belief. Now they are partners. It can happen everywhere. I can challenge and tell you that with us scientists who are here, I'm answering the question from Malawi. Let's be the generation that begins to fight what we call in Zimbabwe the fourth Chimurenga. The first Chimurenga was fought using spirit and spear. The second Chimurenga was fought using guns and politics. The third Chimurenga was bought by repossessing our land. The fourth Chimurenga is the Chimurenga of the mind. Change this head. It can make you poor or rich. Invest in that head. People can steal things. People can steal cars. People can steal your suit. People can steal things, but they cannot steal your brain. So better put your money here This is the spirit that we are following. That's why we are doing it, my brother. But it doesn't mean we are rich. No, not at all. But we're just trying. And it looks like the trial is working very well. You know, when we had a shortage of oxygen, some people who were making oxygen here were beginning to say, no, our machines are down. So we got that scientists, we said, well, let's make that oxygen, man. So we are now making 50 tons per day of medical grade oxygen, 100%. In 2 years. And Zimbabwe needs 150 tons per month at its peak. So we make 50 tons per day. So it means in 3 days, it's enough for Zimbabwe. So with our sister Republic of Mozambique, we have agreed that because we are making it close to the border, the president of Mozambique said, come and put it in hospitals, in Tete, in Sofala, in Manica. And we are doing exactly that. That's what happens when some liberation comes up there. It means you can invest. Because people say, who gave Zimbabwe money? Money does not make things. It's brains which make things. And the brains attract money. If I give you 10 billion today, and I tell you to start doing the phytochemistry of Mupane tree, and you are not a chemist, will that 10 billion help you? Money comes to brains. Brains don't go to money. I hope it's clear. If I give you money, when you are not thinking, will you start thinking all of a sudden? Because of $10 billion in your head? It's not correct. So with our brains, we'll make more money. I want to confess that with the investment that we made in the UZ Agro-Industrial Park for the past 3 years, this year alone, they were able to produce about $1 million. Ooh, these people have money. So, but that farm was producing nothing. So I'm telling you that with the slight investment that we made, they are making much more. But we need more money. GMOs. GMOs are still under research. I don't want to say too much because I'm here in my official capacity. I'm not here in my scientific capacity. If I was in my scientific capacity, I was going to be freer. But because I'm in my official capacity, I will say it's a matter under research. Even if the government of Zimbabwe, it's a matter which is under research. In the meantime, if we've got grain that comes in as GMOs, we take it, we grind it to pulp so that it doesn't contaminate the genetics. That's what we do. But the main issue is that it's still a matter under research. Maybe if it's a GMO that we are doing ourselves, it will be good. But if it's somebody else, maybe somebody else is trying to capture our ecosystem. So it's something under debate. So I think, colleagues, I am very privileged and I'm very happy that we were able to make a conversation. But because I'm also the acting Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have to go and celebrate the Kenya National Day today. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Honorable Minister as he takes his leave. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. We appreciate you. As I said earlier on, we clap until he... Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Now you may go ahead and take your seats. Okay. Prof. Adipala, are we taking pictures now or with the minister? Or you're back? You're back. Okay. We had actually arranged those chairs for our panelists, so you can still remain there and look important. No, I won't. Right, at this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite to the panelist section, Madame Alice Mwetwa, Deputy Executive Secretary for the Roof Forum. No, it's okay. We have those seats, Prof. Unless okay. All right. Next on the podium, we need Dr. Cliff Siso Dlamini. Let's put our hands together as they come through. Dr. Stephen Onakuse. Let's encourage them by putting our hands together. And then Professor Mark Malewa. Right, so Doc, Madam Deputy Executive Secretary Multimedia, if you could give them the mics. I want you to understand that you guys are sitting between people and lunch. So what we want to do is to make sure that we do our discussion. We'll give you 30 minutes. You know, as I said earlier on, the PS was supposed to be the executive director of this program. When he came through, he whispered into my ears. He said, you can continue with the role, but on two conditions. Number one, make people happy. And number two, stay on time. And he said, if you're able to do those two things, I might consider giving you a second bonus. So we have done very well. People are happy. Now on time, be aware that you might actually be standing between me and my bonus as well. So let's stay within our time. Doc Alice, would you want to run from here or from there?
I'll run it from there.
Okay, fine. Let's put our hands together as they commence. We're supposed to have a third discussant. Are they here? Okay, that's fine. I'm sure she can do it too.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to stand on the existing protocol from this morning. So this next session is going to be a panel discussion focusing on transforming agri-food systems for improved productivity, human nutrition, and environmental sustainability. Allow me to bring apologies from Professor Linus Opara, who should have been moderating this session, but is unable to be with us. So the panelists that we have three panelists. The first panelist is Professor Cliff Siso Dlamini. He is the Executive Director and Head of Mission for the Center of Coordinating Agricultural Research for Development in Southern Africa, CADESA. And he will be bringing insights to us on agricultural research for development to intervene effectively in complex systems under climate change condition and the implications for research organizations. So you agree with me that currently we are faced with the issue of climate change. And this particular issue is a very complex phenomenon in itself to understand it, because it has so many different factors that affect it. And it therefore begs us that are here today as scientists, as policymakers, and so on, to be creative and innovative, so that we can bring adaptive research to the fore, use indigenous knowledge, have policy support, engage in strategic partnerships, and, as the minister put it, industrialize. So Professor Dlamini will be speaking to us about that particular issue. The second panelist is Dr. Stephen Onakuse. He is the president of AgriNatura, and I suppose he will say one or two words about who AgriNatura are, their mandate and scope in the world. So for AgriNatura from the University College of Cork in Ireland. So welcome back home, Prof. He will be bringing insights to this meeting on linking agriculture research with the agribusiness community from a pro-poor perspective. And he will speak specifically about the importance of human capital development. So someone asked me one time, what is capacity? So we sat in that meeting and debated what does capacity really mean? So Dr. Onakuse this afternoon will hopefully try to unpack what capacity development we need to be able to transition our food system to inclusiveness, to sustainability, and also what sort of capacity do we have? That's a question that we always ask. Who is doing an inventory of the capacity that we have on the continent to make that transition to sustainable food systems? So what capacity then do we need for our research to industrialize, as the minister was saying? What capacity do we need for the next sustainable agriculture and food systems? Professor Mark Malewa, is he here? He is not here, but I'll introduce what he was going to talk about, all the same. He is the Vice Chancellor of Kamuzu University of Health Sciences in Malawi. He was going to talk about innovations to address human nutrition and malnutrition, and the link between agriculture, nutrition, and health. I'm sure you agree with me that in order for us to do agriculture, we have to be healthy. So this reminds us that there's a link between the health of the people involved in the sector, as well as its ability to feed the people. So let us start with Professor Sibusiso Dlamini to make his, perhaps you could come over here, and to make a 10-minute submission.
Program Director, may you please allow me to stand on the existing protocol as my senior 88 paranormal says. All protocol observed. So I have the rare opportunity today to address such a congregation of esteemed directors, scientists, leaders here. And I would like to thank the outgoing ED of the forum. I came to CADESA May 2020, but I've learned a lot from you and the rest of the people here. So CADESA is actually a sub-regional organization of SADC. We are a technical wing of SADC, and we work particularly with the SADC Fund Directorate, the SADC Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources Department. CADESA was established by member states in 2010, and it was launched in 2011 and started to operate in 2013. So you see the sequence there. We were established by a charter. There's a charter established in CADESA, which was signed by over 60% of the SADC state parties. So as of today,
the board, initially there was a mid-term operational plan which served as a site plan at the same time. The center is to coordinate agriculture research and development in the region to make sure that all the technologies and innovation happening in the region, there's a one-stop shop. We coordinate, we exchange knowledge, ideas within the region, and we also partner with other sub-regional organizations, CORAF, Azareka, and then the continental ones, AFAS and PAC. Our long-term strategic plan is inspired by the SADC Regional Agriculture Policy of 2013 and some other relevant SADC instruments. So we've got a roadmap 2020 to 2029, which is 6 thematic areas. And CADESA, when I get to the programs, you will see that all our programs are addressing climate change impacts and environmental change impacts and other resulting impacts from climate change. It was sort of a monologue addressing climate change in the agriculture sector at the moment. So our thematic areas will include the agriculture production and productivity, looking at enhancing food and nutrition security in the region. We have a thematic area on resilience, looking at resilience to environmental change, climate change. Some don't see the difference, but there are some differences. We look at also responding and increasing resilience towards transboundary pests and diseases. There's a thematic area on commercialization of agriculture in the region, as well as access to markets, which was an issue. There is another thematic area on women, youth, and vulnerable groups, how we can empower them. The last part one is on capacity strengthening across the region. Then the last one is on knowledge management, which is one of the cardinal points for a coordination center like CADESA. Having said that, chair, I think there's a chair of the session. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got 2 flagship programs. We've got the APSA program. The APSA regional program is looking at production and productivity in the sector across the region. So far, under the APSA program, we have 5 countries. Each country has a commodity. I think you recall from the speech, the minister's remarks that in Angola, cassava is regional, the regional center of excellence. We call them ARCOLs, regional center of leadership in cassava. Over the new phase. Then other countries that part, Lesotho is establishing the regional center of leadership in horticulture for the region. Mozambique, Zambia, and Malawi also established, participated in APSA to establish centers of excellence in other commodities. Then we've got the CADAP XP4 program. This program has several objectives, but the critical one, which is the most famous objective, is capacity strengthening for that is internal and external. That is we are actually implementing the CADAP XP4 program in conjunction with other sub-regional organizations and continental organizations. FARA is our partner in that program. AFAS is our partner. CORAF and Zareka are our partners. So it's a joint program funded by the EU. The APSA is funded by the World Bank, by the way. Then over and above this flagship program, we have other projects. We have the GCCA Plus project, which came through the SADC Secretariat. CADESA, as the technical wing, is implementing on Babu SADC. It's also climate change oriented. With the ICRA project, I think the acronym is defined behind our chest there. It's also pro-climate change resilience in the agriculture sector. CADESA is part of the project. It's a bigger project, but we have just a small portion which we are implementing. Then there is the climate resilience and natural resource management program, which is driven by GIZ. CADESA is responsible for the knowledge management aspect in that one. We have a new program which is clearly aligned to this general meeting. We have the food systems resilience program of Southern and Eastern Africa. CADESA is implementing this program. We got a grant from the World Bank. This program is addressing food systems holistically, because it's food systems, we also look at environmental sustainability and as well as policy and strategies. We are trying to reform those. Then, in a quest to try to remain relevant to the aspirations and needs of the SADC region and beyond, we've established some different forums, but forum is for English-speaking people. So we have these forums. We have a forum that you convene for directors of agriculture research in the region. We're having a meeting early next year for that forum. We have another forum for the deans of agriculture and natural resources in the region. We have a forum for directors of fisheries and aquaculture. It's a new one. We have another forum, directors of forestry and agroforestry. It's a new one. We are also getting into livestock, because if you go to the CADESA website or you look at our annual reports over the years, we're inclined to crops, but now there's popular demand that we integrate livestock, forestry, agroforestry, fisheries, and aquaculture. So CADESA is now evolving quickly to integrate those sectors in our programs. We also have a forum which we are initiating, where in directors of technical services are going to sit and discuss the regional agenda for agriculture development, research development, etc. We are also planning to engage in forming strategic alliances within member states and at regional level. Maybe I can mention that the way CADESA operates, where the governance model is such that we have ministers, then we have the General Assembly, then we have the Board of Directors, then the Secretariat. And how we operate, we observe subsidiarity with that principle. CADESA, the entry point for CADESA in our member states is through ministries of agriculture. We have stakeholders outside the ministry, but our entry point, whenever we go to a member state, we go to the Ministry of Agriculture. Then that is where we start our work. If we go to a country and we don't go by the Ministry of Agriculture, it means we have reached protocol as CADESA. That is how we operate. So I think I may not finish my 10 minutes because I didn't prepare anything much except just to make us aware that CADESA is here to serve the region. We embrace technologies, we embrace innovation, because technologies and innovation may not be the same thing to a certain extent. So maybe I will also take the opportunity to say, I invite any willing expert here who has a role in the agriculture sector and related sectors to go to visit the CADESA website and register as a CADESA expert. Once you register as a CADESA expert, then you stand a chance in participating in our activities. You stand a chance to be a consultant sometimes. So I encourage you to visit the website, not only to register as an expert, but just to appreciate our work. And I think then you will expect a feedback mechanism. I think through our communication channels, we have got the deep groups and so on. I think I'll communicate with a forum, and then they may email our communication channels so that people may even join the deep groups. In the deep groups, all opportunities in agriculture are found there. Opportunities in Southern Africa, even beyond Southern Africa. And on a daily basis, activities happening on a daily basis, you receive emails there. So I think with those words, I will take my seat because I'm a man of short words. My father taught me so. Thank you very much.
Until he sits down. Thank you very much. That's a word from Kadesa. And he has invited us, all of us, to go to the Kadesa website and provide our expertise for our continent. And when Professor Okori was here, he said, we have a vehicle, it is ready to go, but it needs fuel, and we are the fuel. So there is a chance right there for Kadesa. Thank you very much for that invitation. He also mentioned that Kadesa is addressing climate change through many programs, as well as the commercialization of agriculture, working with women, youth, and vulnerable persons. Is focused on strengthening capacities and knowledge management, and through the APSA programs is focused on commodities, specific commodities through the regional centers of excellence. And this actually reminded me of a conversation we had somewhere else about the need for Africa to eat its own food. So when we have those centers, then they allow us to focus on the food that we can grow here, the food that was there at the beginning, and the food that we like to eat. So thank you, Kadesa, for that. And then he also mentioned that they're addressing food systems holistically. Now that's important. So this is a complex system that requires different actors to do different things. So this is much appreciated from Kadesa. So with that summary, let me ask Dr. Stephen Omakuse to come and speak to us concerning human capital development.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think I have to stand on existing protocol. As my colleague has already said, we are waiting for lunch. I start by introducing AgriNatura. AgriNatura is an association in Europe of about 36 European universities and research institutions. And we also have partners across Africa, Asia, and America. And what we do is basically research with common interest in supporting agriculture for development in a sustainable manner in order to increase food production and improve people's lives. So AgriNatura seek to nurture scientific excellence through joint research, education and training programs and projects that contribute to achievement of sustainable development goals, for which Ruforum is a proud partner of AgriNatura, and FARA is also a partner. AFAS is also a partner. And within AgriNatura, we also have the economic interest group, which we call the EIG, that works mostly with projects that has economic value. And like I said, we work in Africa, we work in Asia, and we also work some part in Latin America. Just to start the topic of the day, I have some questions myself. I have no answers, so I'll throw the questions open. So it's left for us to think about some of the questions. And I think in a way, the minister helped us in answering some of the questions. I think he plagiarized some of my work while I was away. So I don't know how he did that. First and foremost, the design and communication of research output are primarily in favor of investors. And you all agree with me that when we start practicing or trying to conduct research, we don't think about poor people. We think about how do we big companies benefit from it, not the poor, because the topic is about pro-poor. How do we support pro-poor farmers? So our primary focus is we conduct research, whatever outcome that comes out of it, we give it to big companies because they have the means. Maybe they are the funders, they are the one giving us money to conduct this research. So the sense of our research is not focused on pro-poor, but focused on companies. So in that regard, the productivity and the market opportunity that exists does not come to the poor. It goes to big companies. And that perpetually puts the poor people in a kind of a poverty cycle. Whatever they produce is still within the realms of poor production or just from hand to mouth. So the big company continue to benefit from the output of our research. So transforming agri-food system and improve productivity transcend national, sectoral and technological boundaries and human capacity. In a way, Africa, I don't think we are actually short of human capacity. I am a product of this. I had the opportunity of studying agriculture in Nigeria. I was trained in one of the called Special University of Agriculture for 5 years. The problem was we were well trained, we had the best equipment under the Babangida regime. We spent a lot of money setting up this university. But the problem was there is no exit strategy. You train us, where do you dump us? There was nowhere for me to go. I started driving bus in Lagos for 2 years after my master's degree in food production and protection, crop production and protection. I have nowhere to go. Some people went into banking. That was the question I was to ask the minister. After this investment in technology, how many people can be employed at the end of the day? So that becomes a huge problem. And every year, graduates are torn out. So that human capacity is now a big problem where we have brain drain. What now happened? I had the opportunity of leaving the country. I left. For 22 years, I had a very soft landing in a country that gives me the opportunity to practice what I studied back home. Not what I studied abroad, but what I studied in Africa, and I'm now practicing it in Europe. So this is a problem. How do we seamlessly create this opportunity for graduates that we are training in our institutions to have this soft landing to practice what we are training them for in our university? So this is a huge problem or something we need to think about. So the concept of transforming agri-food system in terms of productivity in African countries is something that needs to be weaved into what the government is thinking. The government doesn't think about most of the things done in our research institute and universities. Yeah, they give us money for research. Yes, so what? They just turn their back. There is no follow-up. The follow-up is this. I just give you an example of my own university. The government gives you money for research and it tells you we want 20 patented products from the funding we are giving you, and we expect job creation from this or small-scale industries to be created. When the government doesn't give universities money, so how will you force them to create patented products? From where? From the air? No, it doesn't work that way. I am happy that in the case of Zimbabwe, there is a change in that context. But how far that change will go when government changes is what I don't know in terms of sustainability. How sustainable is that system? How far will it go over a very long period of time? So the question I said I have are these. Are universities and agricultural research output part of government policy strategy from the poor perspective? I don't have the answer. What has been African government position in relation to making agricultural research aspect output business and market oriented? Another example which I have, I'm from Nigeria, I've been eating cassava for the past years since I've been born. The only way I knew that they've been turning cassava into is that they either make it into fufu, boil it, fry it into gari. That's it. What is innovative in cassava that has been done over the past 100 years that I was born and I know cassava? Nothing. So what is the push? What is the force? What is government incentive to change this narrative? Not only for cassava, for every crop that is grown in Africa that is indigenous to us. So when we talk about indigenization, so this is something we need to focus on. Has African government policy over the past century been protecting agricultural research for end users? And lastly, In what ways have agricultural ministry and make agricultural community more competitive, largely by stimulating agricultural research and education in a proper manner? I have no answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stephen Onakusi. Those are difficult questions, I think, that he has left with us. But one thing that I've picked, which I also picked last night from the young people that spoke, was they need to be helped to transition from the training we give them to going into society. So that seamless transition, Dr. Onakusi has mentioned that we need to look at that much more closely. So I don't want to stand between you and lunch. So we are going to have just maybe 4 submissions, and then we will close the session. So let me open it up for just 4 comments from around the house. So questions, comments to both Professor Dlamini and Dr. Onakusi. So there's one hand there. So we'll start with this side. Then we have one hand in the middle. And 2 hands, actually, the 3 hands are all together there. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you very much. So please proceed.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start from the last questions that we heard from Professor Onakusi. I think these are really the most important and relevant questions we have to ask today. How do we reverse this vicious cycle now going downwards for Africa? Of course, we know we can put all kinds of targets. We have been doing that in the continent, the Malabo, the Besa, but now the question I think is really, as been said, says, how do we reverse this? We can train people, we can build the capacity, but then if the market is not out there, if the transformation process hasn't yet taken off, what will these graduates do? And I think this is really important. Now, what I'd like to contribute, just maybe as an brainstorming mode, I don't have either magic stick, and I don't think anyone has it today. But maybe the thinking has to go into a process. How do we get engaged in a spiral? When you start encouraging young people today in the academia to go into innovation and entrepreneurship, there are many programs around the country. They might not be all successful because this is the process, and we know it. The process of innovation is high risk, not always high return, but when it works, and I think that's the learning process we've got to put in place. We might be able to shoot like in 5 years from now, those will give us enough success stories to start building for a second. But I don't know if this is all clear. I hope it makes sense. But what I used to say, a static quo or business as usual is not going to take us anywhere. So we've got to start a process, but I think the process we've got to put here, and I agree fully with you, it's not just at the policy level, because the policy would be putting targets, sometimes shooting too high, and then we say, well, we couldn't do it. Now what next? I think the first thing, and the minister I think touched on that, is to know ourselves, our capacities, and starting building one step at a time by putting realistic targets. What is it that Africa could be doing or achieving in the next 5 years? Before, we got that 2063 process, but I think we're going to bring it down to a step by step in a process that will help us to create, the incentives for moving young people into the value chain, creating the businesses, creating the industries that will then generate the demand for more. And I hope that's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. We'll go to the next.
Yeah, thank you very much, presenters. I'm Professor Mauda Kamatenes Mujisha. I'm a medical ethnobotanist. And once again, I'm very happy that I'm back in Zimbabwe. As a young girl in 1996, we came here in this University of Zimbabwe. And plants and people. And we formed what we call the network of ethnobotanists. And I'm glad now transformed into a program now that is being run. I don't know if Zimbabwe continues with it, but at least in Makerere, the program was developed. And now we have ethnobotanists who have been trained. That time we were focusing on food, medicinal plants, and also plants of value. However, my challenge comes on how to support innovation that are indigenous. The minister has said it. And you are talking about agriculture systems that must be complete. But when you talk about agriculture, somehow, somewhere, medicinal plants are put on the side. And yet, indigenous knowledge, if you talk almost 3/4 of people who are here, you are a product of indigenous knowledge. Your mothers in one or the other, they use some plants. Right from pregnancy, even up to being an adult. And we still use the same plants, but the knowledge is not well protected and utilized. And the challenge is that when you talk about indigenous knowledge, it depends on who is willing to support at that particular time. But the knowledge does not continue being propagated to the forward moving into factories and industries. And right now, you see like in COVID, I don't know how many of you did not use some plants in one or the other. And actually, people were able to realize the importance of traditional medicine when it came to COVID. Africans were able to survive, some of us, because of our indigenous knowledge. Now, the issue is, what are we putting on the table in as far as that knowledge, integrating it into agriculture, as much as integrating into our health systems, and also take it forward in our academic institutions and have products that are homegrown. May I have oils? You can say, what are you doing? When I finished my research, I said I should do something. I used these plants. Now we are making oils. But the support from the educated who have used the traditional medicine are the ones who are putting it down. My issue is that we need to take it forward. And I want to hear your comments from you two presenters.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof. So I have been guided that perhaps Prof. Dlamini and Dr. Onapuse could make just very quick remarks on those two comments, and then we proceed to the next item on the agenda. So over to you. Let me start with Prof. Dlamini. So you start with a response as well as your very brief final remarks, and then over to Dr. Onapuse.
Thank you. I think I might respond to the last speaker, the professor of ethnobotany. I think when I say CADESA is responsible for coordinating agriculture research and development in the region, I also mentioned that CADESA is also integrating forestry and agroforestry, livestock, aquaculture, and fisheries. So when we integrate forestry, we also consider those issues because the farmers that we are dealing with, you cannot divorce them from ethnobotany. You cannot divorce them from their natural forests and woodlands. They get products there. So sometimes they may not even go for chemical fertilizers because they practice agroforestry and leave some vegetative species on the other field. So there's no way you cannot include
ethnopolitan. So I think we need to move in this zone. We're working with all our stakeholders now, trying to mobilize them. I think we're looking at sustainable livelihoods now. We're using that lens. We're trying to transform the agriculture sector through research and innovation, but we're looking at everything through the lens of sustainable livelihoods. And if you remember the sustainable livelihood capitals, they include natural capital, and exactly natural products will also include ethnopolitan. So as CADESA, there's that comfort that we're also embracing the holistic perspective of the natural capital.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, there's a way of just, I think what I would also encourage the audience to do, the organizations represented here may also collaborate with CADESA in one way or the other. You just look at our programs, you see if you can collaborate. When we sign memorandum of understanding, we then translate them to partnership strategies. Because we're tired of MOUs that are on the shelf. We are now going for, if you partner with us or collaborate with us, there'll be either a collaborative framework, an official one, or a partnership strategy. This partnership strategy, you take your strategy, you take the CADESA strategy, you put it on the table, and then the common areas of interest will give us the partnership strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. My little intervention is just to add a little bit to what my friend said over there, that food system or agri-food system transformation is very complex, and that complexity requires serious transformation from the training process. This process should start from our university reform. I think the minister said it all, that the old ways should be thrown out and the new ways should come in. We need to review what we actually teach in our universities. And most of the things we teach these days are obsolete. We Africans, we should develop a training process that fits with our needs, what we need in our continent. I am not saying we should throw away completely what others are doing. We have to integrate and synergize with them. But we have to build our traditional way of teaching based on our needs. And with that, we'll be able to follow through and build our technology. Even with the new product we are talking about, they have to be indigenous, and we have to train our people based on what our university have in stock. And that is my little intervention. And also looking at it from the food value chain. Value chain is now becoming something that is very new, in the sense that they are looking at, like, for example, FAO is looking at value chain from job creation. Look at the number of food crops we have in Africa. If you do a value chain analysis on each and every one of them, just imagine the type of jobs that will be created from cassava, potato, yam, okra, pepper, different food crops. So that is something that we need to create a training process to focus on what kind of innovation we'll be looking for, our technology, that we need to advance this in the nearest future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let us appreciate the two professors. Until they're not leaving the high table, so I wouldn't say until they sit down. So at this point, I will hand back the chair to my big brother here, who was chairing in the morning. So over to you. Thank you very much.
Let's put our hands together one more time for our panelists. We appreciate you, Deputy Executive Secretary, for this forum. Job well done. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our morning sessions. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank you all for, sitting through tea time. It was a long morning, but I want to believe well-deserved. So much download. Let's put our hands together to all our speakers. Shortly, we are going to go on the tour of our exhibitions. And these will be in our Great Hall. The Great Hall is actually behind you, so you use the back exit and you will proceed. Our ushers will actually lead you to the Great Wall. It's about 150 meters from the exit, very close. There we are going to have our exhibitions led by our vice chancellors and the Roof Forum executive, our ministers here present. We would appreciate if all of us could proceed in that direction. And then I think round about 1:30, we are going to take a lunch break. And for our VIPs, lunch will be served here on the mezzanine floor, just by this part of the entrance hall. There's a staircase that goes up. So we have our vice chancellors, the executive of Roof Forum, ministers, and senior government officials locally, and those that are from abroad, the executive of the University of Zimbabwe. We will have our lunch here. And then 200 guests will have lunch at the senior common room. The senior common room is to my right, your left. It's also just about 100 meters from here. And 400 guests, you really take your pick. The food is the same quality or similar quality. The other group, 400 people, will have lunch at our Students' Union building. It's a beautiful facility. So as we come from the tour of our exhibitions, you can go straight, to any lunch venue of your choice. Then another piece of information that I want us to share before we leave: delegates who are sitting in the translation section, please, you are kindly requested to leave your headphones where you are, on the tables where you are. That would be appreciated. And then another very important piece of information for those that are attending the official opening of this AGM at the Harare International Conference Center. Just to inform you that you will be required to have a COVID test, an antigen test, negative 48 hours, valid before the event. So we kindly request that we go for our tests starting tomorrow in the afternoon, or tomorrow in the afternoon. We will facilitate that. You need help or assistance from the university. We have a clinic that's extremely efficient. Just check with our information desk and you'll be given instructions on how to go about it. And finally, for our afternoon sessions, allow me to call my brother Doc from Africa University to give us a couple of instructions. Let's put our hands together as he comes forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you say, I'm from Africa University. I'm going to announce the plenary sessions will be in the afternoon. So there are three things we'll be working on parallel sessions. Maybe choose which one you want to proceed with. The first one is a theme on enhancing agricultural productivity and earnings of farming communities. That's the first theme that we're going to work on. Then the second one will be strengthening and improving the performance of livestock production system. And the third one, also in handle, is an environmental and natural resources management. So from 2 o'clock, these are the themes we're working on today. And we want to make, the set sheet has been sent for us by the minister, and we'll present it in the morning. Then we are going to interrogate what we are doing further in the afternoon. Say, where are we regarding where we want to be? So these are the three things we'll be working on, which is a session we want to follow, and these are the three things we'll be having. Actually, we'll be available to lead us to the different conferences, depending on your choice. Actually, now for the different things. hear what President Barry is saying, a fourth session now, in addition to the I've mentioned, a Carnegie specially funded scholarship scholars, also the 4 of them. So the 4 ushers will be available, leaders into those teams, which will be taking in the afternoon. Dr. Alliance, they will follow those teams of our interest. Thank you very much. For the first theme, the venue will be lecture room G1, enhancing agricultural productivity in earnings for farm communities, G1. Then for the second theme, since the improving development of livestock systems is lecture room G2. Then third one will be natural resource management, lecture room F3. So the 3 themes will be ending those sections. Then the fourth one, where can we meet? The fourth one. Yeah, the fourth one will be in this one. In this, for the fourth one, scholarship for us will be this way. Remember this one. Thank you. Chairman.
Thank you. Let's put our hands together for him. Then for the venues, all the venues that he mentioned, the lecture rooms that he referred to are just across the university greens. Out of this auditorium, you look to your right, getting out of this building. Those are that building that you see, the magnificent building you see. That's where you have our lecture venues, or rather the lecture rooms that he referred to. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are done. Prof, Vice Chancellor, I would appreciate if our dignitaries, the VVIPs, can use this exit. They go around as we make our way to the Great Hall. And the rest of us, feel free, after our VVIPs have departed, you are free to either use this exit or the back exit. Otherwise, thank you very much for your patience and for the attendance.
Oh.